Anthony. So, just the last 2 days, just in kind of speaking with you guys and seeing the questions that you guys have, I think a lot of it also comes down to empowering your staff, and getting them to level up a little bit. And that's been the theme here in creating autonomy. So, yes, I want to talk about, as you guys can see here, I labeled it running the show, creating a scalable training product. But I think something that's really going to be unique about this is the integration into your staff, if you will, because that's something that's really, really important. Dan and I talked about this in terms of how can we level up our staff and how can we get them to new heights in terms of seeing the bigger picture of our business and where we're going. And for me, I'm in a unique position. As of Joe and Dan started out right as partners, it was Joe and then there was Dan. But I went through the traditional quote unquote process, if you will, right? So I was started as an intern like everyone else. I did my internship. I was part-time. I became full-time. I dabbled in some operations. I dabbled in marketing. I dabbled in the front desk and now the director of training. But I think what I really am is my real title, if you will, self-proclaimed, is chief of training or chief of staff. I'm the point guard that runs the show. I played basketball. So as Dan did yesterday, where I talked about baseball, I'm going to talk about basketball a lot, but it does pertain. And finding your point guard is extremely important. Right now, it might be you. If it's one or two people, it's probably you. But I think the most important person that you need to look for in your business outside of the two owners, the partnerships, or wherever you sit in your leadership is who is going to be that point guard, who's going to be that head man. Because there's tons of traits and characteristics and skills that you're looking for when you hire, right? You put together your job description. I'm looking for this person. I put out my internship. I'm looking for this person. But as they should ascend through your internship, you should be looking for specific people who, in my opinion, begin to view the business as you view the business, right? Because the point guard is an extension of the head coach. So Dan is the head coach, right? CEO, chief reminding officer, the head coach. I'm the point guard. So even with someone like Mike and Simone, I have a lot of conversations with them. I get them gifts. I buy them lunch. We hang out a little bit because I want to ensure what they're doing is ultimately helping the overall growth and trajectory of the business. It's ironic. I mean, Derek, you talked about this. I have a major in psychology and exercise science with a minor in business. I thought I would never use psychology. And now here I am going full circle. And it's like every single thing that they talk about, it's just like checking boxes. And so I say this to our staff all the time. If you cannot do it here, you cannot do it anywhere, period, right? The end. And I said this to Dan a lot. It's because everything that you do, you have to view it as your own business, meaning if I'm walking and I see there's trash here, does that person pick it up? Does that person stay after because they like to organize and train it because they want it to look appealing for the people that come in? Do they treat everything as if they have stake in the game because that they own it? And something that I did a lot of when I was still going through those ranks is I treated it like that. And so when you start to go through and you start to appoint these people in new positions within your business, that's something that you should look for. And it's, do they view the business as if it's their own? And do they view the business as you view the business? Because if not, there's always going to be some of this, and that's natural. But if you can kind of get them here and make sure you guys are on the same page and they see things the way you guys do, I mean, that's definitely a huge win, if you will. But, again, you guys and being a part of this group, we are the gold standard in the gym business. This is why, as I said before, if you can't do it here, you can't do it anywhere, because naturally this is going to happen where you're going to have coaches that go through the ranks. They're going to want to be a part of what you're doing. They're going to be a great key player, but then they might leave. They might get another opportunity. And so if they cannot do the things that they do here, like Joe said on Monday, is you don't want to be in a position where you're stuck with an employee who you never taught, you never developed, and they decided to stay. That's a loss, as opposed to, hey, I spent all of my time developing this individual, growing this individual. I created a system and a process for this person, whether it's them or somebody else. And then if they go on to do something else, it's repeatable. So today we're going to talk about the training product. We're going to talk about how you can systemize it, keep it organized. I'm going to give real-time examples of all the different play sheets that we have. But I also, like Dan said yesterday, I want it to be a big Q&A. So I want you guys to have specific questions that you guys can write in the chat, or we're going to do a little activity in a little bit. But that will be important so that we can answer that and address it specifically to each of you instead of me just kind of talking to you. I want to have a conversation about how Dan and I can help you with where you guys are in your business. So let's rock and roll. The first thing, right? So of course I'm using a basketball analogy here. There's a great book by Dick DeVenzio. I don't care if you played sports or what sports you played. It's called Running the Show. And leadership is universal across all sports. But I think specifically like in football, the quarterback, and basketball, the point guard, these are positions that dictate the offense, dictate your playbook, which is your training product. And Dan, as the head coach, we create it. This looks good. I give it to my point guard. He implements it a little bit. But what is 88-44 leadership, right? A traditional basketball court in the NBA is 94 by 50 feet. In college, it's 90 by 50. And in high school, it's 84 by 48, right? Notice each level that you progress. So the better that you get, you have more space, there's more room, right? But there's greater opportunity to make mistakes. The bigger your business gets, the more opportunity that you guys are going to inquire. There's going to be more room for error because the business, Dan says all the time, it begins to create a mind of its own. And so as a leader, as a point guard, whoever that point man is, you or your chief of staff, director of training, you want to ensure that you provide and operate under the assumption of 88 by 44 feet. Meaning, I'm going to create the guardrails here. This is the system that we're going to put in place. But I need to know that as my business grows, as I begin to get more opportunity, I need to leave a little bit of room for error. And that's going to be easier to address if you adhere to these guidelines, if you stay within, right, that 88 by 44. And so if the systems and processes right now are kind of lax and loose, but they're good, like I said, when you grow, it's going to be very, very hard to rein those things back in because things are going to develop, different things are going to take mind of their own. So you need to be very intentional and specific amongst the processes that you feel so you can avoid as many mishaps.